At first glance, as I think, is a collection of essays penned by Swami Chinmayananda that elaborates on seriously, seemingly varied topics such as spirituality, culture, religion, secularism, ethics, and yet has nation building as its inherent theme. On a closer look, as I think divulges an intimate understanding of the vision and actions of the renowned patriotic saint Swami Chinmayananda, who touched, transformed, and inspired millions of lives, as I think reveals the seed that laid that has led to mighty Chinmay movement, as I think reiterates that the journey from mediocre to marvelous is a journey in thinking, beginning with just one powerful seed thought. First chapter, Dawn of our culture. The renaissance of a culture can be brought about only when the people get inspired by the values of life recommended by it. After a long history of cultural servitude and after a long history of political servitude and cultural servitude and political slavery, we have just come from freedom wherein in come into freedom wherein in spite of ourselves and our un-Aryan nature, we find ourselves merely labeled as Hindus. The intelligentsia in the country have learned to ignore their culture and their religion as something redundant and unnecessary. The middle class people, though sincere, today live their religion by proxy, or they consider their culture as sheer superstition. And the rest of them, who constitute the so called faithful followers, strictly obey and live only the non essential externalism of the religion without appreciating its significances and the implications of its philosophy. Therefore, to invoke Usha rising of our culture would be to bring the salient feature of Hinduism and the inexhaustible beauties of our culture to the understanding of our generation. We are not proposing to do anything new, but we have to consider the modern problems and conditions of living and bring into the necessary changes in our technique of spreading the knowledge of our national culture among ourselves. This is urgently needed even for our secular security and material prosperity. A shattered nation of wild groups, each trying to step over the other, is not an arrangement from which we can hope to get any teamwork or cooperative endeavor in our nation building activities. The only factor that can bring us all together, that can hold the South and North in one embrace, that can bring the Naga chieftains and the Kerala youths, the Dravidians of Chennai and nationalists of Kashmir. On the same platform is our respect for and reverence to our distinct national culture. The dissemination of these fundamental ideas is therefore imperative in the context of our fast collapsing present day history. I have been trying in my own way to explain to the educated masses what I see so clearly in the immortal books of Upanishads and Gita. During these years, the Jnana Yajnas have certainly rewarded me with a total result that is more than encouraging, and at times I am compelled even to consider it as nothing short of a miracle. In order to crystallize those ideas taught in the Yajnishalas, during these Yajna seminar sessions, we have organized ourselves into the mission groups wherein seekers try to live and assimilate the Hindu culture. The mission groups have been multiplying very healthily, and each of them has been taking the torch of knowledge lit up in our Yajneshalas very faithfully to the different mohallas of their own cities. Now it is time that the groups must come together and their activities get somehow coordinated and systematized, each group drawing its inspiration from its sister groups functioning elsewhere in India. When I started the groups, I had specially advised that each group will be of minimum strength of 3 to 5 and maximum strength of 10. As soon as the group grows to more than 10 members, the group should split itself into independent groups, each working under a group leader. By this way, a certain amount of mobility is supplied to the organization so that they can easily and readily convey the throbs of revival initiated in the various Yajnishalas to the distant corners of the same town or city. A stone thrown in a pond of water makes a disturbance, and it is conveyed in ever widening concentric ripples to its very sides. This is possible because of the fluidity of water. In a drum of oil, the ripples dies away quicker. In a basin of honey, it will still less. In a trough of coal tar, the stone gets swallowed up by the contents without making any special disturbance, except perhaps temporarily at the place where the stone has sunk. In short, vibrations are conducted more easily when the medium is more fluid. No doubt in the Yajnishalas during the long sessions we feel inspired, thrilled, revived and awakened. But unfortunately in the tussle of life and in the day-to-day competition of existence, we forget the noble ideals and miserably fail to discover in ourselves the necessary heroism to live the Hindu way of life. We need mutual support and we need to convey the light of our religion to every corner of our own cities. The mission groups are the medium through which we can hope one day to achieve this stupendous task. Members of the group have been provided with enough chances not only to continue their practice of sadhana but also to intelligently inquire into the contents of our scriptures and to discuss their implications among themselves. It was very gratifying to note that in many cities in India, today educated enthusiasts, young and brilliant, can very convincingly present the scientific conclusions of Vedanta and bring about a change of heart in those who have no faith at all. Speaking is no doubt one of the powerful instruments of propaganda and missionary work, but in the modern time, the press is also a very important limb in any plan of spreading the vital values of a culture. Unfortunately, today, the Indian press has no respect for such ideas and themes, and we, the enthusiasts, have also know not how to put across our ideas in an appealing and entertaining style. So, a new religion, second chapter. Wear and tear is natural for everything that is constantly in use. Even mountains must erode and crumble to the level of the earth as the fleeting steps of time march down its slopes. Now, not only gross substances in the outer world suffer thus from change, but even our inner emotions must slowly decay. The law of diminishing utility in economics amply explains this phenomenon of erosion even in our mental life, and this is not all. Even the ideals have a knack of fading away as they wade through the dusty storms and tussles of history. What was conceived as a glorious tradition, an unquestionable faith, a perfect ideal, an uncontrovertible theory, a scientific conclusion, or a logical fact in the past, gets itself slowly spoiled to be a bundle of superstitions, a meaningless show, a dry exhibition, a purposeless belief, an idle hope, or even a logical absurdity in a context of the changed factors of more recent and modern times. A traditional religion of the past thus becomes, if not unfit totally, at least ineffectual in controlling, guiding, and directing the energies and enthusiasm of a latter generation. At all such moments, a reinterpretation of the timeless immortal values become absolutely necessary. Coins in circulation will have to be now and then withdrawn by the mint and replaced by fresh ones of the same denomination and stamp. Cultural ideas in circulation are religion, and from time to time a religion must change. They must put on fresh robes and reappear on the stage of life to serve mankind. But the values they preach are always same, be they through textbooks written in Hebrew, Arabic, Sanskrit, or Pali. These new arrivals were not destructive revolutions, but they were only constructive revivals. The culture of Upanishads is the culture of our country. The training given to the citizens of Bharat to live this Sanatan Dharma is called Hinduism. Methods of training should always depend upon the type of trainee is entertained, the available institution in which they have to be housed and trained, and purpose for which the trainees will ultimately be called upon to act. The old economic structures of the society were built upon the land and cattle wealth held in the patriarchal system, the joint family holdings, the parochial loyalties, the quiet life of contentment and mutual love. They have been now replaced by the new economy of money and shares, of the welfare state ideology, the busy life, discontentment, and mutual competition. The old religion as a technique of training the people to live the right life can no more hold good in our present time. So long as the old religion is thrust upon the new generation, they shall revolt against it and express ourselves as skeptics or even atheists. Ours is an age of reason, gross and unpolished, though daring. The religion of the last generation, built upon the music of the heart and practiced in an unquestioning, ready devotion to the Supreme. All merciful Lord is to our generation today as useful and enjoyable as some glorious poem in a foreign language given to a bird blind man to read and profit by. As children of this age of Sputnik, sitting as we are on a threatening volcano of world politics, we have neither the instrument in us to appreciate life nor the mental temperament to express love. All that we can appreciate today is a logical understanding of the how, why, and wherefore of religion. So long as the priest class is not ready to satisfy these urgent enquiries characteristic of this age, they shall be considered as redundant and in the natural state of things quietly wiped out of existence. Missionaries must understand the heart of the people to whom they minister. A teacher who understands not the not the taught, can teach none. This is the subtle mistake that has grown now widely luxurious among us to yield our present day harvest of tragedies, social inequalities, communal quarrels, national disintegration, and ideological tyrannies. The members of the Chinmay mission are to grow themselves to be the right interpreters of our ancient and sacred culture to the children of the present day. No doubt there is none to teach us. Those who know today, or at least claim to know our scriptures, know not the world in which they are living. The men of the world are efficient in their own activities. They are in their own ways wise and learned, but they too are completely in the dark regarding knowledge of their own cultural heritage. The members of the Chinmay mission must be alive to the tremendous cross they have to shoulder. It is not sufficient if they strive hard and become themselves perfect. They must practice sharing even their little knowledge with others. Never consider yourself as unfit for this great task. Keep yourself available for serving the cultural cause of the nation by constant study, deep daily japa and regular meditation. Tune yourself up more and more to the immortal seers, they who gave us our sacred culture are immortals, superhuman in their wisdom and power. They can miraculously help the unfoldment in each individual. If the seeker's intentions are noble, his dedication complete, and his faith strong. Be bold, be upright, studiously learn, sincerely live, lovingly interpret, serve selflessly, and thus serve Him, who is the one effulgent truth behind all this world panorama. Third chapter. Live and preach. A doctor cannot cure unless he can show the patient where to procure the medicine prescribed for him. Even the best chef in the country cannot remove our hunger unless he has cooked to taste and made ready the dinner. Dreams can give only a vague sense of joy but cannot offer any actual dividend of happiness to the dreamer, however learned the Pandita Pandita may be, he cannot by his preaching deliver the listener from his nameless sorrows and painful sights. Yet we find Christ console his age. Buddha leads a group of his devotees to the higher peak of nirvana. Sri Ramakrishna fathers the spiritual aspirants of his time. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thrills his era with divine songs of the Lord and makes even educated skeptics dance in a maddening ecstasy. The Kashmir Pandit, the Banaras Vidwan, and the Kerala Namudripad, the Madras Shastri, and the Chidambaram Dikshitar all can pour out their knowledge and flatten the head of their listeners, but they fail to touch the deeper chords of their students. All of them are learned, they repeat the orthodox Vedic declarations. Their grammar is perfect, pronunciation exquisite, but alas, they only benumb their listeners' spiritual fire. They deaden the appetite to live, the enthusiasm to experience. The latter kill it. Our group leaders and members must carefully avoid becoming mere pedantic scholars or mere intellectual inquirers. No doubt intellectual arguments can yield temporarily an applause of appreciation, but this spurt of inward joy will soon disappear. Ideas repeated in the mind grow as dull as jokes heard repeated by the same person for the 10th time. And yet, all masters have the same song to sing, the same truth to express, but they somehow never grow weary. On the other hand, at each repetition from the lips of the masters, these ancient ideas spring up and dance with a new vivacity. When they express these immortal ideas, they seem to relive as fresh and young as ever before. But the same ideas, when vomited by Pandita, who have but consumed them voraciously, they gather an ugly stink. Members of Chinmay Mission must therefore learn the art of dressing their learning learned ideas with a glow of strength and a beauty of exuberance. The secret of giving them this mysterious touch of life to ideas lies in practice. Live morality before you talk of it. Practice meditation before you preach it. Taste goodness before you recommend it. Gain bliss before you offer it to others. One must be a perfect Shishya before one can hope to be a real Guru. Be a true student before you aspire to teach. 1,000 learned Pandits in 100 years can bring about only what perhaps a true teacher in a wink can, with a smile, accomplish in his devotees around him. Be ever such a spiritual giant, so that in your overflowing dynamism, unknown to yourself, scores of your friends become unconsciously reclaimed, mysteriously transformed, and divinely spiritualized. This is the greatest of all the godly magic that discovers a God man hiding behind every average man. What we have done so far is but a modest beginning to begin the real beginning of a cultural revival in our country. Even here, we find that our path is not smooth. The flow of enthusiasm in us is not steady. The consistency of purpose in us dies off each hour. We still need a lot more of spiritual vigor to strengthen ourselves and greater share of selfless heroism to close up our ranks if we are to serve ourselves as a peaceful army of revivalists. Cultural revival is never a sudden destructive revolution, but it is ever a steady, constructive evolution. To inspire the masses to lift up their clubs and strike at each other can be easily achieved, but to force them through love and tenderness to lay down their clubs and to make them walk steadily towards a peaceful communal growth through a conscious moral awakening is no easy task. The former needs but some fiery speeches, the demonstration of some militant parades, a few new weapons, and a vague, even false, promise of some immediate profit. The lower in us can easily be invoked, can readily be brought out to strike at and destroy something around it. The latter is a divine achievement, a spiritual miracle, a staggering flight into evolution's own peak. To scrape off the clogs of imperfections and bring out our own native glow is a hard way for the average. The leaders who come forward to inspire their generation for their moral self upliftment must themselves be morally strong, spiritually evolved, ethically good. They must have endless patience, limitless love, inexhaustible cheer, and immeasurable goodness. To create these qualities in the chosen few, we had started our groups. In some places, we have to report that the groups themselves were the shameful scenes of quarrels and fights, misunderstandings, and mutual animosities. How sad we must feel about such outbursts of the animal in ourselves. But I have my consolation. The operation table cures often, but it also kills sometimes.